Have you been missing the MLB season already? Well, welcome to the right place. This is the Countdown Fan Podcast, where we're rotating different fans from different teams every single week, talking baseball, talking off-season moves, keeping you updated, and we're going to be keeping it fresh with new games, new trivia questions, and new fans every single episode. So stay tuned. We're going to be posting every week. And without further ado, welcome to the Countdown. My name is Connor Nelson. I'm here with some very passionate Cardinals fans who sat through an interesting 2024 campaign, but welcome Brian Keiss and Nathan Kassler.
Good to be here, man. Good to be here.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're getting right into the action, fellas. I'm going to give each of you guys 1 minute. I want you to tell our viewers why you think they should or shouldn't care about your Cardinals opinions, whatever you guys have to say today. What's your reasoning? Brian, let's start with you.
Well, personally, I've been a Cardinals fan for 10 plus years. Actually, it's funny. I started as a Dodgers fan, was kind of converted over to a Cardinals fan. But I've been a diehard Cardinals fan for a while. Have a lot of knowledge about the organization, and I may or may not have some ins with the organization in the front office. My godfather is good friends with the DeWitts and went to high school with Jack Buck and Chip Carey's dad. So there is I have a lot of knowledge about the team, and I've just been a fan of them for a long time, and I'm excited for the future. It's going to be a good future for the Cardinals here.
Awesome. Good to hear that the Cardinal blood runs in the ancestry. All right, turn it over to Nate. What do we got, man? 1 minute. What are you telling our fans?
Yeah, I would just say, I've been following the Cardinals as long as I can recall. Entire family grew up in St. Louis. My dad lived in a suburb of St. Louis growing up, and ancestors and family have grown up Cardinals fans. And, I can tell you anything I feel like you want to know about the Cardinals in my lifetime, at least. And it's been a great organization to follow. And I think, like Brian said, they're, heading in the right direction, through ups and downs. But, hopefully able to support that cause here.
Cass, where's your dad from? What part of St. Louis?
He's right outside of Baldwin.
Okay, my dad's from Webster, so
there you
it's
go.
funny. Yeah, that's one thing for me too, is I've got a lot of family ties with St. Louis as well. So
exactly.
Yeah, St. Louis ties running deep on the pod today. I like it. We got passionate fans. It's what we need because it's the off season. This is where passionate fans thrive because nothing else is going on except whatever we have to say. So, looking back quickly on 2024, St. Louis missed the playoffs, finished with an 83-79 record. That's good for second in the Central. Not good enough for a stacked National League wild card, though. And going into the season, pre-ranked by MLB Network as the 18th best team in Major League Baseball with room to grow. And, that was a common opinion back on opening day, but fast track to this offseason, moves are already being made. Back on Monday, the Birds declined the team options of the following: Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, and Kenyon Middleton. Guys, are we going to miss any of these names?
Well, I think, if we look at Lance Lynn's season, another guy who came over, 3 years ago, he was third in Cy Young voting. This year, obviously, he had a 7-4 record, a 3.84 ERA, 1.34 WHIP, good for 0.3 WAR. So he was kind of just like right middle of the pack guy. He ate a lot of innings for the Cardinals, but this staff is just so old, Connor, that it's hard to get a lot of these guys to perform like they used to. Lance Lynn, St. Louis guy, he's been there, done that, won a championship with the Cardinals. But for me, he just didn't live up to the expectation. I was really excited to see him back in a Cardinal uniform, but he didn't do it for me this year. And I think, that can be said for the entire pitching staff, really, for me. But Lance Lynn just didn't live up to the expectation that I thought he was going to.
All right, what are we thinking on your side, Cass? We going to miss any of these three pitchers?
Well, I would just piggyback off that for sure. That I think, with Lance Lynn, especially just being a former Cardinal and what he did with St. Louis, they were just expecting what he's done in the past. And that's just not what he was able to bring to the table. But Kyle Gibson, was brought in a trade for some other guys, just to look to eat innings, be, a 3-4 starter late in the rotation. And he was kind of there, but just wasn't the guy they really needed. Or, they could have used someone else, or they definitely, I don't think he'll be missed by any means. Same thing along with Lance Lynn. And looking for other options here, obviously, this offseason. So
Cardinals fans ready to move on the pitching staff. I definitely felt that age factor, especially at the beginning of the year when they were building that rotation faced around Sonny Gray. That was a tough starting age point to begin with anyways. But offseason news also, awards are starting to get announced. We had the Gold Gloves announced this week as well. Cardinals a team that's got a pretty good reputation for having stellar defense year in and year out. But this year, 3 nominees, no hardware coming to St. Louis. Did any of these guys get snubbed? What are we thinking, Nate?
I think Mason Wynn for sure. I mean, definitely a guy that, rookie shortstop come out. He just had a phenomenal year overall. Just very athletic dude at shortstop. And I looked up earlier. He would have been only the second rookie ever to win the Gold Glove. I'm like, at that point, it's just like give the guy the Gold Glove. It's just a cool stat for him to have. I would say he's the most likely to kind of get snubbed. Arenado obviously coming off kind of a rougher year last year defensively compared to the 10 other Gold Gloves he has. But those are the two I would say more likely than Donovan for sure.
And Donovan was solid, but I think if you look at what Wynn did this year, 14 defensive runs saved, and he won the fielding Bible. So it's interesting to see that he won the fielding Bible, yet didn't, was a top shortstop in the league, but didn't win the Gold Glove. Defensively, it's just kind of a weird, why wouldn't you give it to him at that point? So a little bit of an interesting decision there by the awards guys this year. So, but I think Donovan always has been solid. He always will be. And the nice thing about Donovan is you can put him anywhere in the field and he will have that Gold Glove defense. So that's a strong suit for the Cardinals as well. And I think, especially you look back on the seasons they've had, these past couple of seasons, they have had a lot of guys in the finalists, in those columns for the finalists for Gold Gloves. So I think that's always been a constant for the Cardinals, but especially these past couple of years. And I think it's just going to keep getting better with these prospects they got going on.
Yeah, Cardinals and Mets fans both upset at that shortstop, outcome. Ezekiel Tovar taking home the hardware of the Colorado Rockies at the shortstop position. Matt Chapman beating out Arenado. That's a good battle every year. And
always.
Of course, latest breaking news from the Cardinals this offseason. We just got word today. You guys probably saw it on your social media feeds earlier. I know we've been talking about it, but reported that in 2025, Wilson Contreras will be moving over, the veteran catcher. They're moving him all the way to first base. Might be doing some DHing in there too. The guy is just 32 years old, was brought in to, kind of be that replacement for longtime catcher Yadier Molina. What do you guys think of this move? It kind of, to me, it means that Goldie's out. Obviously, but what were your guys' instant reactions to this today?
Initially, I thought it was a great move. I think it's going to be a good option because I think, like you said, I think Goldie's out. I think there's no real option that he's coming back to St. Louis, which is sad. Everything you hear about him is just a great team guy. But with that being said, Wilson Contreras, younger guy, wasn't going to come in and replace Yadi by any means. So bringing in someone young, someone from out of the farm system to come up and kind of take over that role and learn a little bit with Contreras, who has the experience, I think is going to be phenomenal. And might just kind of free him up a little bit. Might give him the option just to, DH, loosen up his thoughts and mind at the plate a little bit, which will benefit the Cardinals. And I know that's something they were looking for this offseason anyways, who would replace Goldschmidt. And I think it's going to be a great move.
In-house replacement. What are we thinking, Brian?
Yeah, the Cardinals, the biggest thing this offseason was who is going to be the first baseman in the future. There were talks about Burleson going over to first base, but I think with Contreras going to first, it gives him the opportunity to stay healthy. Obviously he had that wrist injury this past 2024 season, battled, kind of struggled with the pitching staff, keeping that in check in 2023, his first year with the Cardinals. So I think moving him over to first base, less pressure. He's always been a good defensive guy. So I think he will be able to hold it down. And it gives, like you said, like Cass said, he's been in the DH role for a little bit, back and forth. But I think St. Louis has right now found their first baseman for the 2025 season. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from that in terms of branching off and using, going into the winter meetings and the general manager meetings, which are start tomorrow. So it'll be an interesting look for St. Louis.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty much solidifies their infield now going into 2025. You're going left to right with Arenado. You got Win at short, Donovan, moving around, but expected to get a lot of time at second, and then Contreras at first. So infield seems pretty set. But moving on from 2025, what is your guys' headline that you can sum up 2024 that, maybe gives your team a little bit of an outlook for 2025? What are we thinking for Cardinals headlines 2024? Brian, let's start with you.
I think the biggest thing in 2024 was the pitching. The pitching was mediocre at best. I mean, a lot of like I mentioned earlier, a lot of older guys who were just eating innings. And Sonny Gray was hurt for a little bit of that stretch, so he didn't get the longevity that the front office was looking for out of him in his first season as a Cardinal. Started really hot. I liked the way he looked early on in the season. Obviously got hurt. That slowed his momentum down. But I think the Cardinals pitching staff is not what it used to be. I think for a while they had one of the better pitching staffs in all of baseball. And so people expect it to just be solid year in and year out. I mean, with the entire organization, everybody just expects the Cardinals to be good. But it was just really interesting to see that shift. They need younger guys. They need younger guys to be in that pitching role going forward. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing this offseason is picking up younger guys who, again, will eat innings and have solid years on the bump.
All right. And Cass, man, what's your headline wrapping up 2024 for the Birds?
And I agree with that completely. And to put it in kind of just one sentence, what I, wrote down earlier was like, it was an incredibly talented team. And they just couldn't put it all together to have the winning team. They had so much talent that they just couldn't put it all together. But they had the age, they had the wisdom, and they couldn't gather it all. So.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off of you guys, definitely what I was thinking of was that youth that they, showed signs of what they could be this last year. So my headline was, man, why not us? We've heard that phrase a lot, just, in-house of where we've been. But, I mean, everything that I saw happen in the NL Central, last year, the Brewers came out on top. But going into the year, I'm pretty sure a lot more people expected a 3-horse race with them, the Cubs, and the Brewers. And, Brewers kind of edged it out, and nobody else was really even competitive in my mind. Everyone else was wild card bound. So,
yeah, I mean, I think
why not
I
us
think
with
a lot
these
of
young
time,
guys?
I think a lot of the time you forget that the Cardinals finished second in the NL Central. I mean, the Brewers obviously ran away with it, but Cardinals, 83 wins is not bad by any means. But, the Brewers winning 90 games really just foreshadows that. And the Brewers were the better team, but a lot of people forget that the Cardinals did finish second in the NL Central.
All right, getting back into it, fellas. All right, I want to know who the Cardinals fans think are going to be the most perfect fit free agents for next season to propel the Cardinals to where you guys think they need to be. Birds aren't losing much, as it turns out right now going into the offseason. They're losing Goldie. We mentioned him. Veteran Cardinal player Matt Carpenter, he's gone. And then just one more bullpen arm in Andrew Kittredge. So they're losing a few arms, a couple veteran bats, but for the most part, this team is staying the same. Cass, let's start it off with you. Who's the first perfect fit free agent you got for the Cardinals this offseason?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I feel like that's been a question that's been up in the air for a couple of years, but I feel like the first thing you have to go to is the pitching staff. You have to look at the pitching staff and what they've been able to do, and it doesn't seem like they've been able to do much. So looking at kind of just who their guy would be, kind of game one, opening day, they thought it was going to be Sonny Gray. But for this year, there's a couple free agents that I thought of between Nathan Eovaldi and Walker Buehler. I thought would be two just phenomenal arms to come to St. Louis. One of them, but two right-handed pitchers that I think could just dominate the NL Central. And they could really, I think, be effective there. And so those were the two guys that I initially thought of. And before actually the Contreras thing came up I thought of Anthony Rizzo, but looking back, I'm like, yeah, so anyway.
Yeah. Brian, you got any pitchers to piggyback off of that?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say Nate Eovaldi was my one. There were talks about him about getting him at the deadline. You look at his last season with the Rangers, the 2.3 WAR, 12-8 record, 3.8 ERA, and a 1.1 WHIP. So not bad. He's going into his 34 season, but he's a guy who brings that WAR to the table, and he's been a solid starter. 2 years removed now from winning a World Series with the Rangers. But my guy I'm going with is Michael Lorenzen. I think he would be a good, solid guy in the rotation for the Cardinals. Not going to be a big get for them. Not asking too much probably as he's bounced around. I mean, he's going into his 10th year in 2025, but 2.6 WAR, 7-6 record, 3.31 ERA, and a 1.2 WHIP. He's going to be 33, so I think he's going to be a guy Cardinals can pick up with not too much stress, and he will. I mean, he's been good. He's been really good. Had a good stretch with the Phillies, obviously through that no hitter. Was with the Royals for a little bit, did really well with them. So I think he would be a good fit for the Cardinals going in to 2025.
I love those answers. Like-minded with you guys, I went with the right-handed pitcher. I didn't think of Walker Buehler. I do think he would look pretty good in the Cardinals colors, but I mean, I can't say with my own fandom I would love to see that every day. It's just he's not even off the mound yet for me. He's still in this position right here. Just yes, bring me the love. Right in my mind. But no, I went with somebody else, pivoted a little bit differently to, I think, a guy that a lot of teams probably aren't giving a lot of thought to right now, and it's Shane Bieber. And yes, the dude got TJ in April. Right now, he's not really even projected to come back until midseason. But if I'm the Cardinals, you're in a weird spot. You know, in my mind, you got a lot of young players you want to play. So right now, if you're projected out to the midseason mark, you don't really know if you're going to be buyers or sellers. I think Shane Bieber is a guy who you stash in your back pocket. You give him 1 year, 12 to 14 million. Hopefully, best case scenario, he comes back middle of the year and the Cardinals are in the same spot, in that wild card to take in the central race. And maybe he comes back and he's exactly what they need, that front of the line starter, a dude who's had a 7-year career with a 3.22 ERA and a Cy Young. And then, hey, worst case scenario, maybe he doesn't come back the way you thought. Maybe you're not in it at that time and you try to get whatever you can for him, or he's a year rental and then it just comes back as a $12 million loss, which obviously sounds like a lot more to me than it probably does to the Cardinals front office. But man, he's had 7 years in the bigs. Only in one of them has he not been able to pitch double-digit starts. This guy's the model of consistency. He feels, like in that same image of Walker Buehler in my mind, just kind of feels like a Cardinal. The Guardians, I think, mirror that similar team chemistry and team outlook. And yeah, going into his age 30 season, projected with a 1-year deal coming off of an injury, I think it could be a really big pickup for the Cards.
I like that. I can see that happening, actually. I think that's within their budget, and I think he'd be a good starter to frontline that staff.
Yeah, and pivoting to the hitting side, I know we've been talking about the lineup. It's pretty solidified, but I think the Cardinals need a little bit of a homecoming, and it's probably not who you were expecting, because this guy only played 1 year with the Cardinals. He's a free agent corner outfielder. Either you guys got any guesses? Crickets.
I don't.
Jason Hayward, man. Bring him back to St. Louis. The 1 year he played for the Cardinals, dude, he was legit. You guys probably maybe remember this year or don't remember this year more than I do. 2015 is just after the stint.
He had a 6 WAR in that season. So yeah,
he had MVP votes, won a Gold Glove, almost hit 300 in 150 games with an 800 OPS. This dude, and that was all before his weird swing lull or whatever. It's really after that year that he lost his magic. So whatever he had in St. Louis, he hadn't been able to bring back until he was on the Dodgers and they revitalized his swing a little bit. So I think that could be a great homecoming and a nice little way to get Jordan Walker out of right field every single day. Because I don't know about you guys Cardinals fans, but he kind of seems like that Teoscar Hernandez with the Dodgers, where it's like if I see him running with his glove up or his head bobbing, I'm not really 100% confident he's going to catch the ball. Maybe he's got a good arm, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like the perfect fit for right field. It'd be a good platoon area to help Walker get back on his feet and try to find a rhythm in the bigs.
Yeah, I think Walker, his spot in the outfield is questionable right now. I mean, there's a lot of other outfield guys that you can go to. I mean, Harrison Bader is going to be another free agent. I'd like to see him back in Cardinal red because he's one of my favorite guys. Did really well with the Cardinals, but I don't know if that's going to happen, just especially after this past year that he had really solid as well. But my guy going in, obviously we talked about the catcher position kind of being up in the air right now for the Cardinals. But my guy, Kyle Higashioka, is who I'm going with for the hitting side of the free agent. You look at his past year, 1.4 WAR with the Padres, 17 home runs. He hit 220, 263 OPS or OBP. So he's another solid guy, but really brings that veteran presence to the catching position. Kind of reminds me a little bit of how Yachty was doing with what Yachty was doing with the pitching staff up until 2022.
So jumping back into it, new segment in the middle of our episode here. We have the all-time Cardinal draft. This is what we're doing with some of our fans. We're going to test their knowledge, test honestly just their fandom, see who they're really wanting on their all-time teams. Here's how the draft's going to work. It's going to be a snake draft. There's 3 of us. Each guy is going to get 5 players. 1 ace to start their game, 2 stars from Cardinals history, and then 2 utility players that we'll see how deep their bag is for these utility guys, because I got some curveballs I think I'm going to throw to them. So starting it off, pick number 1. No order you can go with. You can start with any player, pitcher, hitter, no matter what. Cass, we're going to start with you. Who's the first pick?
I would say, just starting off, you got to go with an ace. All-time great in Cardinal history, but Bob Gibson.
I expected that. I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming.
Phenomenal. I mean, you can't turn that one down. And
it's
just
the
one of the greatest
play
of all time. Have to go there.
No, all right, he's got the fireballer in round 1. Pick 2 is going to be Brian. We got our first ace off the board. So now, here's where the strategy comes in. Where do you go to next, Brian? What's your pick 1, 2?
I am going to go with a star. Give me Lou Brock.
Lou Brock. He's filling out the speed. I wouldn't have imagined that was going to be the first hitter off the board. But all right. Yeah. I respect it. He was on my list.
One of my dad's favorite players. I mean, he's got the speed. He stole. I'm pretty sure he stole over 100 bags one season. So that's a guy who's going to be solid for you on the base fast. I like it. It's my first pick.
All right. Filling up the speed. I like it. Leaves a lot of power on the board left for me. This is snake draft. Remember, I get 2 back-to-back picks here. So I don't know if I want to get that ace out of the way. Maybe I leave him. I think I'm definitely going to go with a star first. And I don't know if it'll be who you guys expected. This guy's got a bloodline in the MLB. Give me Matt Holliday. I want his kids in the clubhouse around me. I want.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm stealing it. I'm stealing his kids too.
I love that. I really like that. Stand-up guy, by the way. I got to meet him in Atlanta a couple years ago. Great guy.
Awesome. Yeah, no, he does seem like a great guy to be able to raise kids that well and to have them be that godly at baseball. You know, it's a lot of dad's dreams, man. So, yeah. No, we're going Matt Holliday. But wrapping it back around, I got the snake draft. So I'm going to get my first utility guy off the board because he's really one of the only guys I think, you know, I would really want to go with. There's a few names. I won't drop any names because I don't want to give anything away. But I just wanted to get this guy off the board first. Give me Dodger legend Tommy Edman for my first Cardinal utility player.
I knew it was coming.
Wow, I had to get him off the board early. I feel, you know, he was a little iffy in the category because I know he's on another team now. But what do you guys think? Is that one counting? Is that one all right?
I'll give it to you. I mean, he spent most of his career with the Cardinals, so I'll give it to you.
Sweet.
I missed the guy.
Yeah.
All right, I'm liking my lineup. We're wrapping it back around to you, Brian. You got your first hitter star on the board. What are we going to next?
I'm going to go utility Jose Oquendo.
Jose Oquendo. I was waiting for that one. That one, that's a name only Cardinals fans are going to know. Anybody else watching this episode is going to have no clue who you just said because I know I wouldn't have unless I looked it up before this.
One of my favorites. He's been all around and another guy who's really solid defensively.
All right. Utility guys starting to go off the board. Cass, no hitters yet. Where are we going? You got 2 picks.
Oh, Brian's already ripping names off mine. I don't like this. All right. You have to go with the star. Spent most of his career with St. Louis. Big hitter. Finally hit the 700 club. Albert Pujols that'll be forever in a Cardinal in my mind. I mean, he went to LA to play with the Angels for a little bit. Didn't do anything like he did with his first 11 years in St. Louis. So Albert Pujols is mine.
All right. I'm liking it. Big dog's off the board already.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Cardinals are a historic franchise, man. There's so many legends left to go, but that's why I wanted to mix in those utility guys. There's always curveballs to be thrown. So what's the next pick? What are we thinking about for pick number 3?
So going to a utility guy. 06 World Series MVP David Eckstein.
Yep.
Wow. He dug it out. I like it.
I mean, that was a deep find. But that was one of my favorites. I mean, I was only a kid at the time, but anyway.
No, need him. We needed to fill out the history of us, the old heads in the comments. You know, there are old heads. Trust me, there's more people in the comments than you would think. But no, they're gonna love that pick. But moving it on, Brian, we got utility guy, we got a hitter. You gonna try to steal my ace from me right now? What do you think? You think you could read my line?
I might.
Steal my ace?
I think I might. I'm going Wayno.
There's no shot. Yep, no, it's not who I was gonna pick. Anyways, I'll let you have him all day. I'll let you have that 74-mile-an-hour curveball. Now he's great in the booth though too. So now you have a guy to broadcast with too. Yeah. So no, that was a big brain play for sure.
I mean he's been my guy for years. I think I know who else is on your list. I won't spoil it, but he's been on my list for a long time. I love the guy.
Ooh, well now
and today is his anniversary. So I mean that's big for him. So shout out to him.
All right. Well, that's awesome. That wasn't exactly who I was going to take, but now that you guys both got your aces off the board, I can wait on mine, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a surprise. But I think I'm going to have to go with my second utility guy because I realized you guys haven't dug too deep into that well. Another one of my favorite Cardinal names, I probably couldn't give you a single stat, but his beard was so legendary when I was growing up, I had to know who he was. Daniel Descalzo. On the team. Wow. Give him to me.
That's crazy. That's good.
Can't name a single accolade, but I mean, he's my guy. That's just
and he's back at the Cardinals in a coaching role. So
really? Look at that. Look at that. I knew that.
You know who else is?
That's a good pull.
Well, we'll wait till it's over because he might be in there. But there's another guy who's come back to the Cardinals this year that I'm really excited about.
Oh, I think I might know who you got. And I mean, you're coming up next. So who are we thinking with your next pick?
What do I got? So I got my ace, I got one of my hitters, and I got one of my utility guys.
Right now you got Brock, Okendo, and Wayno on the board.
Give me Yachty.
He's going Yachty. He's filling out the stars. Yep, that's definitely a star.
He's been my guy forever. My favorite player since forever. Even before I started following the Cardinals religiously, but he's been my guy. Best catcher in the history of baseball.
All right.
I'm gonna leave it there.
Cass, I'm not gonna lie, as the former catcher, I thought you were gonna be the one to get him off the board first. I thought if I had to put my money on it, I thought you would have taken him first. But yeah,
no, that's awesome. Yachty's a great pick. I mean, I was thankful the guy I played for in high school knew Adam Wainwright and Yachty pretty well, so I got to meet him a couple years back, and they're just anyway, great guys. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. All right, well, the lineups are starting to fill out. Brian's got one pick left, but Cass, here are you two last picks. We need a star and we need a utility player. Who do you got left in the back?
All right, well, I have 2 stars left on my list. Oh, and it's tough. There's one that's kind of a legend, and there's one that is a legend in my mind, just in my lifetime, that grew up St. Louis native, 2011 history maker.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it any better than a game 6 game, what he did in game 6, but David Freese.
All right, David Freese off the board. That was a tricky one. I didn't know where to. Obviously, he's not a Cardinal star, but I mean, he definitely falls into that utility category. I had him on my list too. Dodger legend.
Yeah, that's true.
Got some postseason wins over there. Yeah, no, he's playing first base with us. Isn't that insane? That was his utility position.
I mean, he's another guy who's been all over the place though. So
yeah. No, that's very true.
He played a season with the Pirates. I think people forget that too. He's been all over.
Between St. Louis, yeah.
Yep, that's a good.
I had him as a star on my list, but yeah.
All right, well, Cass, I mean, it's turning right back around to you. You're filling out your lineup. You're the first one to do it. It's looking good right now. Pujols, Gibson on the mound. You got Eckstein and Freese to back him up as the utility guys. Who's the last star that's rounding out that lineup?
I had Freese as a star just from 2011.
Really? Okay. I was going to give him utility. I had him
as a star.
Okay. I like it.
Just because he mainly was kind of at third base in 2011, and that's like the year and like the stardom for him, I feel like.
We'll do it. No, I love it.
Because then rounding out utility, I had a deep one. I actually had a conversation with my grandpa's friend earlier today about this one, so this is deep. But George Hendrick.
Oh, okay.
Deep find. And looked up some stats, and just one of the best Cardinal utility players. And yeah, that was a deep find. But George Hendrick.
We're definitely going to have to pop a picture of him up on the screen because there's not going to be a lot of people who know who that is. Or if they've seen a picture of him, they're definitely not going to know it was him. Because I know I wouldn't. He's only on this list because I looked it up. But you love that. All right. That rounds it out. We got Hendrick and Eckstein, Freese and Pujols with Gibson on the mound. That's a pretty solid Cardinals 5 right there. Brian, rounding it out for you, you got Waino on the mound throwing to Yachty. I can't believe we let you put that battery together. I'm really, looking back on it now, Taz, we might be screwed. I don't know how we let him do that.
I had to have it.
And then he's got Brock and Okendo. I mean, this is lining up perfectly. Who's your last utility guy, Brian? I think you might have killed us already.
I think I'm kind of surprised nobody said it already. Was Ozzie Smith kind of a utility guy?
No, come on.
No.
If David Freese is a star, Ozzie Smith is a star.
Okay, then give me Alan Craig as a utility guy.
All right, I will take that. That's definitely not a star.
2013 Alan Craig, the guy. He was the guy.
No, that was a great team to use in MLB The Show with the Holiday, Holiday, Alan Craig. You got Waino, Yachty, everybody on that. That's how I know Descalzo. And Skip Schumacher, who I didn't get to say. Nobody said him. I thought that's where you were going because he's up for a few new jobs.
I thought that one this morning.
Yeah. No, I went Descalzo over Schumacher, but now I have my last two picks. I need a pitcher. I need another star hitter. And, I don't think you guys saw this coming. I'm actually going to fill these two spots with the same name.
What?
Give me Rick Ankiel, baby. Give me the two-way star. I don't care who you throw out. I don't care who's hitting. Rick Ankiel's pitching against him, and he's Shohei Ohtani. He's leading it off for me. So Rick Ankiel's my last guy. His face is going to be up there twice. He's my pitcher and my second star. That's where I'm going right there. Right. Rick Ankiel times 2.
We'll give it to you.
Let's go. These are some pretty sweet lineups, guys. I really love the names that we threw out here. So what I don't know if I told you guys this before, but I am going to show these lineups randomly. I'm not going to know who drafted them. Going to show them to the next episode, guys, and they're going to rank them 1 through 3. We're going to play a little bit of a game later on down the road. Maybe have to bring you guys back for some more lineups or some trivia, depending on who wins that voting matchup, all right?
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I think if I had to vote, I might have to give it to the Yachty Waino list. But, oh, man.
That's an insane battery. I don't know how that happened.
The two throwback utility players on your team cast, though, that's going to be tough to beat. Cardinals fans are going to get into that.
You know who else I was thinking, too, was Ryan Theriot was on my list.
Wow. That's
1 year with the Cardinals, 2011, but he was solid.
Yeah, I don't know if you could tell, but my right there was, I have no idea who that name is. So. You're stumping me, Brian. Gosh. All right. Well, fellas, that was a great little segment. I think to close this episode out, I want you guys to give me a hot take about your Cardinals that you don't think other Cardinal fans would want to hear out of your mouth. So, it doesn't have to be too crazy. It could be a rant about a specific player. I know I'm a Dodger fan, so I love throwing it out there. I would love to rip on Max Muncy all day, every day. But can't do it. But I'm giving you guys a chance. Give me one hot take Cardinals fans wouldn't want to hear.
Brian, go for it.
They're scared. Nobody wants to start.
I can start.
All right, let's get it,
guys. Go for it.
It's nothing big, but I would get rid of Marmol. That would have been the first thing I would have done. I don't know if Cardinal fans would want to hear that or not, but I'm getting rid of Marmol. I would have done it a long time ago, if I'm being honest. I mean, early last year at the latest. But get rid of Marmol. Cardinal baseball is not the same. I mean, they average a little over 3.5 million in attendance at their games each year. They have up there with the Yankees and Dodgers, like with their hometown crowds. And last year they weren't even close to filling the stadium a lot of games. And that's just not Cardinal baseball. And I'm not blaming it all on Marmol or Mozeliak or any of them, but they definitely need some changes. They need some changes between front office. And if they're going to get rid of some of the other managers they've had in the last couple of years, Marmol should have been gone a long time ago.
I think if you're going to get rid of Mike Schilt, you got to get rid of Ollie Marmol too, because Ollie Marmol is nothing near what Schilt Matheny was solid too. So, there's a long list of Cardinal managers too. We didn't even dig into that are like super solid. So they've being a Cardinal manager is hard, and Marmol really just isn't doing it for me, and he hasn't since he got hired.
I like that you brought that up, Cass. The coaching aspect is so huge. I was talking about it with Brian right before you hopped on the Zoom, but I was listening to the Mookie Betts' podcast with Dave Roberts and just hearing some of the coaching insights and his perspectives that he had on that series, and just the Marmol thing just brought me back to the beginning of the year, the controversy with Contreras. Or was that last year or was that this year? Was that his first? I forget.
That might have been last year.
That was last year.
Either way, I remember that situation feeling like he handled that so poorly. You know, sure you have a problem with a guy, but the first way you pretty much let everybody know is addressing it to the media, and it just, you know, it's like why you airing out your dirty laundry to everybody. You know, if something's wrong in house, you got to take care of it in house. I think that was probably something he learned real early on because Contreras' first year with St. Louis was last year, so that must have been last year.
And he's the reason Tyler O'Neill is no longer a Cardinal either. So, I mean, you look at that too. They had issues, and Matt Carpenter. I've heard Matt Carpenter say there's been issues in the clubhouse too. So it's not a good look for Ollie Marmol. I think it's going to be 2025 is going to be his contract year, or else he's gone.
All right. Well, building off that, Kais, what do you got for us? One hot take Cardinals fans wouldn't like.
I think we need a better farm system. I think we can trade away a couple guys, whether it be Arenado or another guy in the outfield, but we need prospects. That's something we've needed for a while. Farm system hasn't been very good past couple of years. We need prospects. I'm willing to get rid of Arenado for some prospects, for an outfielder, for more pitching prospects. There's guys who can fill in at third base in the future, but I think we need prospects, and Arenado's got to be the first guy to go if we're trying to rebuild.
Yeah, I kind of went the same route with my hot take. I think I put it a little bit more bluntly, but I basically said it's time to start over, man. Like, this is we touched on it earlier. The rotation last season, way too old. What are we doing? Like, not sustainable. You're banking a whole lot on your offense there, which, sure, maybe they had that expectation coming in. But now, after this season, I'm all with you, Brian. I know we talked about maybe investing in this team and you know, wanting them to be there at the deadline. But if I'm being real, I'm dumping Arenado for whatever I can get for him this offseason or before the deadline. And you build your timeline based off of Mason Wynn and company. You know, you got a bunch of guys. I wouldn't call it a full rebuild because there's a bunch of core guys. Burleson's 25. Walker's 22. Herrera's 24. Victor Scott's turning 24. Donovan and Nootbaar are both turning 28. This is a young team with a really solid core. So it's not a rebuild, just a little bit of a retooling. You know, Arenado, his contract doesn't even look that bad nowadays after some of the money we've seen doled out to some of these other guys. But yeah, for me, for the Cardinals, time to start over. Dump whatever you can now and focus on these young guys and building around that. And revitalize your farm system, just like you said.
The oldest team in baseball in 2024, Nolan Arenado was not Nolan Arenado this year. I mean, he wasn't. You can't deny it. And I think, you know, Goldschmidt wasn't either. Those older guys they're reaching the end of their careers, and that's not what we need as a Cardinal team. They need to look into those prospects a lot. So
yeah, I think you can find that veteran presence out of other guys. There's plenty of guys on the free agent market. We mentioned Jay Hay earlier. I think that's a perfect veteran presence to bring into the clubhouse, a guy who's been there before, who's seen that team win from afar, especially early in his career, being so close. But yeah, I mean, I think Arenado serving this team as a veteran presence just isn't enough for his price tag, and I think they can definitely get something for him, but they need to do it fast because another year like that out of Arenado probably tanks all of that trade value. Well, all right, guys. Any last comments, concerns, Cardinals thoughts, anything we want to cover closing this episode out?
I'm
excited for a positive. Go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, really looking for a positive 2025 season after the last couple of years. Yeah, it's been almost tough to watch. I'd put it that far. You know, it's been rough. And so, like you said, I mean, I don't think you could have said it better, but they're trying to build it around the old guys the past couple of years, instead of kind of just starting from the ground a little bit more, or starting on a stair step. And they have the core. I don't think you could have said, like I said, you could have said that better with Mason Wynn and some of those other guys. They have the core. They just need to add to it.
Yeah, I think no, we didn't talk about this a whole lot, but with the front office, but Kyle Bloom is in the Cardinals front office, and I think that's a good look. I mean, you see look what he did with the Red Sox a couple of years ago when they won the World Series. I mean, he was really good with the Red Sox, but so I think it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table in the front office for the Cardinals. But they just it's going to be an interesting 2025 season. Lots to look forward to if you're a Cardinal fan, but some changes need to be made.
A lot to look forward to indeed. I think this is a team that, who knows, could end up having a sneaky 2025 and with the NL Central totally up for grabs with some of these teams regarding, or disregarding any other huge offseason moves. Cardinals are going to be, they're going to have their fate in their own hands. If they don't play well up until the deadline, I would expect to see a few guys moved. And if not, I think you guys are probably going to be pretty happy. You might have to check back in on you guys around that time. But anyways, thank you guys so much for coming on and talking Cardinals with us. This was the countdown. We're counting down every single day to the new MLB season, 2025 opening day. Coming soon. We'll be back on the countdown next time.
Thanks, Connor. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Go Cards, baby.